Good evening, guys. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight we are talking all things coaching, really. I'd like this to be a bit of a Q&A live stream for any coaching questions, any topics that you guys would like to discuss, or anything just in general about football coaching that you're wondering. Any help, any guidance, that's for players, parents, or coaches. Hi there, something random. Thanks for joining the stream. Have you got any questions, anything that we can help you with? Hi guys, thank you to everyone for joining the stream. We are talking tonight about all things football coaching. We'll be discussing things like kids' confidence, skill development, how to manage teams, how to get the best out of players, how to rebuild confidence when kids have lost it, and any topic really that you guys want to discuss. So if anyone's got any comments, just let me know down in the comments below. If you've got any questions, if you've got anything that you're wondering about football coaching, any sort of personal questions for me that might help you in terms of your development, or if you're either working with kids or you've got a child yourself where they're trying to develop their confidence within football and trying to improve. Personally, I find that when I'm working with kids, especially at that sort of age group, so under 13s age group, a lot of them do just want to play. There is a general feel of kids sometimes feel like they already know enough about football when they get to the age of under 12s, under 13s. If you've got kids where they feel like they almost know a lot about football, so they feel like all they want to do is just play and they can't learn too much from drills and training. A really good way of developing your practices is to try and make them as match relative as possible. So if you can come up with some practices, or you can find plenty online. There's some on our YouTube channel. If you can find practices where the actual element of the game itself feels like you're just playing a match, and then when you're playing in the game, then there's objectives, there's outcomes that you're trying to get the kids to do, but it still feels like they're playing in a match-based scenario. A lot of kids, especially at that older age group, 12s and 13s, they don't want to do drills, they don't want to be studying cues, they don't want to do anything where it doesn't feel like the game. And the game to them feels like that chaos and carnage, that attack and defense. The more you can make your matches and your practices relevant to in-game scenarios will really help with your training. Um, the other comment that we just had there for pre-game warm-ups. Pre-game warm-ups, there's thousands out there that you could try and do. My best advice always with any pre-game warm-up is to try and make it relative to what you're trying to get out of the game, especially towards the start of the match. So a pre-game warm-up should always activate players, not just in terms of the physical, in getting their body warm, getting their muscles warmed up, getting stretches done. A pre-game warm-up should activate decision making. It should activate speed of thought. It should activate teamwork. So things like rondos you'll see often because it activates the teamwork, but often it doesn't really activate much in terms of the physical and getting kids running around. I like to involve something that incorporates passing, a drill that incorporates some goal scoring and some finishing, but ideally lots of activation with pressing and decision making too. High intensity games, usually where teams are outnumbered and working in twos and threes, that would really help. Thanks for the question, something random. Thank you to everybody who's joined the stream. We are talking all things coaching tonight. So if you've got any questions, just drop them down in the comments and we will talk through it. Um, One of the main things that I always try and look for when developing practices and trying to plan a session is trying to go through like an ABC method. What's my plan A? Plan A for me would be how many kids are going to be there. If it's the perfect scenario, the weather's going to be good. I know that everybody's going to be in attendance and all the recipes perfect. That's like my plan A, and that's how I develop my first drill. Then I go for plan B. Plan B is like, what if I don't quite get enough kids? Or what if the weather turns a little bit, it's a bit cold, I maybe want to slightly adapt my practice. I maybe don't want kids to stand still for too long. Um, and have a plan B that will maybe just give you a way out if the perfect recipe doesn't quite, come together. Plan C is what if I have a nightmare? So I'm planning my session thinking, what's the worst case scenario here? And if my worst case scenario is barely any kids turn up, I have really bad weather, too many kids turn up, and I get caught out with extra kids I wasn't expecting. So I have a plan C for what my outcomes can still be if I get that worst case scenario. If you go into every practice with plan A, plan B, and plan C, there will also be little measures halfway between those stages that can really help you with your drills. So whenever I'm planning a session, regardless of topic, try and make sure you've got a few different options. In a 1 hour session, do you break it down to 15 minutes times four with four different things like ball mastery, etc.? That's a really good question. It does depend on the topic. So if I was trying to do a passing practice and I was trying to get my kids better at sharing the ball, I'm trying to get them better at linking up with each other, then I would probably do a 30 to 40 minute session where most of it is involving passing, teamwork. There's micro progressions within the drill, but the drill itself stays quite similar in terms of theme and topic. If I was doing ball mastery, because it is such a broad base and you could cover anything with ball mastery, and there's so many different levels to ball mastery, I probably would break it down like you've said there, and maybe I might do 15 minutes on one skill, one particular move, one particular surface of the foot, and then maybe give them something in terms of battling for the ball and trying to put that into like a little 1v1 scenario. Then you might change to another method, but doing it in that little 15-minute increments can be a really good way to do it. So whenever you're playing anything that's a ball mastery style drill, I would always try and make sure that you give them something that's actually technical in terms of how do you do it, when do you do it, why do you do it, and try and break down the skill itself into the core mechanics, and then give them something that's quite game realistic, maybe a 1v1 or a 2v2, maybe even let them be outnumbered if kids aren't that experienced, and give them something where they can try and actually plan that in the game. When do I use it? How do I do it? What stage is the right time to do it and the wrong time to do it? Thank you for everybody who's joined the stream, guys. If you've got any questions about coaching in general, let me know down in the comments. I get thousands of messages across a month where it's coaches asking me questions, sometimes asking me to make videos regarding a specific topic. I don't always get the time to do so. So I thought jumping on live stream, I can talk to you guys live, and you can just let me know any questions that you've got, anything that you're wondering, any problems that you commonly come up with, or things that you've really been trying to crack, but you just can't quite get either outcomes for the kids or something that's just frustrated you for a long time. Sometimes problems in coaching can go on for months, if not weeks. If I do miss any of your comments, guys, please feel free to repeat them and say them again, because as the comments pop up, I might start answering one question and the next one will come up. You can probably see my book behind me. This is a brand new book that me and my brother have just written and just launched. It's all about building kids' confidence. So it's called My Season Journal. My Season Journal was written because over the last 12 years of coaching from every level, kids where they're absolute beginners, they've never really played football before, academy kids who are really pushing and striving to get into the pro game, and everything in between. I've coached all ages and all stages. What we decided to do was try and build a journal that will help kids with reflecting back on their games and the importance of looking back on the game, whether it went well or went badly. All parts of a game could go either way. There could be great things to take from a game, bad things to take from a game. But I always try and make sure that there's reflection after the game. So we wrote this journal to help kids do that, help parents do that as well. There's lots of parents out there trying to help their child with their football, and they don't actually know that much about the game themselves. They just want the kids to get better. So we wrote My Season Journal to help with that. So My Season Journal is available. It's actually linked as a product down on the YouTube page. You can click that from the video, and kids go through match reports. They go through how to set challenges for the next game. What did you improve on? What did you do well? There's lots of trackable stats in there. We've tried to gamify some of the stuff in there as well to really make kids enjoy ticking off achievements and things, just like they do on the Xbox and the PlayStation. So the achievements pages were all brought in line to sort of gamify football a little bit for kids and make sure that if a kid is playing a game, maybe they lost, maybe they didn't score, but there's lots of achievements they can tick off at the end of a game that says, here's things that I did well today. Here's how I developed myself. Here's how I got better. Here's how I did things with my teammates. All things like that are really important for a kid after a game. So that's why we wrote My Season Journal. If you guys are interested in that, then by all means, just let me know. You can click on the link down below the video. It should be linked as a product. And like I said, if you've got any more questions or anything like that, guys, do just let us know. Let's just click back on the live chat. So how do you deal with kids not liking the sessions that you planned? They can see they don't like it. Sometimes that's verbal, sometimes it's body language that you will pick up on. I find one of the worst questions to receive as a coach, and you've probably all heard it yourself, is when are we doing matches? Why aren't we doing the match? What time does matches start? That's usually a very clear indicator that your session maybe isn't infusing the kid in the same way that a match does, or that they feel like a match does. Often matches aren't even the best thing about football for some kids. So if you're getting kids where they are either giving you the visible or the verbal feedback to say, we're not enjoying this session, think first of all, how is this match relevant? So if it's not match specific and it doesn't feel like a game to a kid, then they might switch off from it and think, I would rather be doing a match than this. If you can try and make your matches and your sessions feel like a game, then that will help the kids buy into that session a little bit more. It's not always easy to do. It depends on the topic, depends on the practice. And sometimes you have to admit to yourself as a coach, like, I'm not too proud. I've been doing this a long time and I still have sessions and drills where I go, this just didn't come out the way I planned it. And maybe putting into a game would get that buy-in back from the kids, because having the buy-in of the players is everything in a session. You could plan the best drill in the world on paper. If you turn up, the kids aren't in the mood, they're all a bit giddy from school, the weather's turned a little bit on you, whatever it may be that's causing them to feel like that, you just might have to abandon the practice and go, you know what, I'm going to have to go into a game that's going to infuse them, that's going to get the buy-in from the kids. Because if you get the buy-in from the kids, the session's always going to go better. 17 people watching on the live stream, guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you've got any questions, any comments, anything you wanted to know about football coaching in general, you might be a football parent, you might be running a team, you might be working one-to-one with a kid. Any comments that you've got, any questions, please do let me know and I'll answer them as best we can. If I've missed any questions that you've posted and we didn't get back to you, just drop it again in the comments, because they do come through pretty thick and fast sometimes, and I might miss them as I'm answering something else. In terms of the sort of best practices when you've got kids where they're not engaged with the practice, ask them what it is about a game that they love, and that might help you plan your next session, and that might make it a little bit better for the kids. So if you say to your kids, why do you want to do matches? What is it about the match that you love? And they might say scoring goals. They might say the drama of, keeping score where it's close and it might go 2-1, or you might be losing, you might be winning. Those things are very adaptable to put into drills, but sometimes you just need to know what the kids are asking for. If your kids are specifically asking for matches, it might be that your drill is missing goal scoring. And the session that you've planned, as much as you're trying to tick off ball mastery and passing and decision making and teamwork, and you might be ticking off all these boxes and thinking, hang on a minute, how did I miss that? There's no goals getting scored. And that's what kids love doing, and that's what kids love stopping. And then all of a sudden you think, maybe that's why they're asking for matches. Should I finish the session even if they don't like it, or reflect on the next session, or what should I do? Um, I think finishing the session does come down to the individual session itself. It depends how well it's gone. It depends how far into it you are. If 3 minutes into a practice where you've barely got going and a kid's saying, can we do matches? That doesn't mean you should abandon everything. But at the same time, if you're 25 minutes into a half an hour drill and kids are starting to ask you, sometimes I think, is this final progression really going to get the best out of the kids right now if they're already asking for games? And do we maybe go straight into a game and abandon that last 5 minutes? Maybe touch on it later on. And then reflection. Part of the reason I wrote this book for kids, and part of the reason I say so much about it on my YouTube channel for coaches, is reflection is the most powerful tool, because you are not going to get through life, get through work, get through a football game, a session without mistakes. You will create mistakes, you will make mistakes, you will witness mistakes all the time. The best coaches, the best people at self developing, are those ones who will look back and go, what did I do wrong? What could I have improved on? Where did I not do my best for the kids? Or where did I not move things along either quickly enough or well enough? If you reflect on yourself with zero ego, right? Don't think you're Jurgen Klopp, you're not Pep Guardiola, none of us are. But what you are is a human that will make mistakes. And if you plan a session, it doesn't go well, don't abandon the topic. Don't give up and think, what's the point in doing that again? Just think, let me tweak it. Let me try it again next week with a few changes. Let me think, where did it start to unravel? Where did I lose the kids in terms of enthusiasm and motivation? And maybe I'll try it again next week with a little bit of a different style. I do the same thing. Coaching is very much like the YouTube channel that I run. Sometimes I will watch a video back and think that video was perfect. And then I'll look at the analytics after the video and go, everyone stopped watching after like a minute and 40 seconds. Why? That was a 25-minute video. No one watched it for longer than 2 minutes. So I go back to the video and I go, hang on a minute, what did I do at that stage that went wrong? How do you best deal with big groups, 20 plus 4 and 5 year olds of different abilities? Different abilities can be a really difficult thing for coaches to manage. And unfortunately, it's a very common thing for coaches to manage, because in grassroots football, or sometimes even when you're getting into more professional sort of levels of football and professional training, you can't always pick and choose what's in front of you, and you just have to coach the best that you can. There's lots of top tips that I can give you in terms of managing difference between players. Sometimes it's making sure that the kids that are striving a little bit more, they're better on the ball, they're quicker with the ball, they're better in decision making. Give them bigger obstacles. So that's make them outnumbered, give them bigger distances to cover, give them a slight disadvantage, and see if that evens things up a little bit. The other thing that you can do is you can try and make sure that the players at the bottom of the group, in terms of experience or just in terms of ability level, don't shy away from that. Don't be scared to sort of make those judgment calls, whether it's with parents or with the kids, because it's important that you're trying to tailor your session towards that. If you're tailoring your session to the bottom demographic of the group in terms of ability level, in terms of confidence level, sometimes it's a kid where they just haven't played that much football yet, so they haven't built confidence yet. You can do things like make things easier for them where they're not allowed to be tackled for a certain number of seconds, or they get a superpower or a power up. Just think like, what would you get in a video game that would make the game easier? So Mario would pick up a mushroom and all of a sudden he gets 2 extra lives. So every time a kid misses a shot, he gets an extra life and he gets another turn. Every time a kid gets tackled, if it's destroying his confidence, then give him a little 5 second button that he can press and or a word that he can shout, and he's now invincible for 5 seconds. Think of clever ways that video games make it simple and easy for kids to develop to the next level. And then think, how can I bring that into a football style practice? I read a paper not that long ago, it's probably about a year ago now, and it was about a video gamification of football. Not just football, actually, it was sport in general, but it was a very, very good paper. And it gave me a lot of really good ideas for how to try and recreate a video game in a football session. So I did a Fortnite style session recently. I put it on my TikTok videos and it did quite well. And some people really, really liked the idea because what I did is said, well, kids are absolutely obsessed with this game, Fortnite. Kids absolutely love football. Is there a way that I can try and marry the two ideas together to get kids to buy in? Now, with 4 and 5 year olds, it might not be that, but it might be something that's a TV show that's popular, Paw Patrol or Spider Man or whatever it is. The more that you can gamify things and liken it to the things that those kids love, the more buy-in that you'll get. And then in terms of managing those differences, I would always just try and make sure that if you can reduce down the difficulty for the kids that are struggling at the bottom, and if you can try and make things that little bit harder at the top end, you can just bring that seesaw a little bit more level. You will never have the perfect session where it's always, easy to manage and you've never got every kid at the same ability level, but hopefully that helps. Sam, thank you for the question. What are the good qualities that you look for in a coach? For me, the main thing is personality. If a kid comes into one of my sessions, if a kid comes to a brand new soccer school and the coach has no personality. They can have all the qualifications in the world. They can be the kind of guy where like, oh, I've got this qualification. I've been on all these different courses, and I know football inside out, and I study it every day, and I watch all these videos about the professional game. If you can't put a smile on a 5 year old's face, you might not be the right fit. Now, it depends on the level that you're working at, but for me, the good qualities to find in it, especially a junior coach, is can you engage with kids? The stuff I was just talking about there, I made up a drill in a game that was about Fortnite and football. And some coaches will go, oh, the game's gone. Our coach is talking about Fortnite in a football session. But the reason I'm doing it is because I'm trying to speak to kids how they feel that they should be spoken to and talk about things that interest them. If you try and get your kid to do their homework and they're not wanting to do it, what the best coaches can do, and the coach with the best quality, is they can go, right, how can I liken this to something you love? I tell my son all the time, I compare things to the Premier League table. He's a massive Liverpool fan. He idolises that club and he loves the Premier League. So if he's got a problem or he's got something at school that he can't quite get his head around what to do or how to do it, I liken the problem to something that he loves. And I think that's what good coaches do, Sam. So I think when I'm looking for the best qualities in a coach, personality, engagement, being able to enthuse a kid and get them excited about football is more important than being the highest qualified coach in the world. Now, if you can do both and marry that together, then that's perfect. Guys, any other comments that you've got? Thank you to the 22 people watching on the live stream, guys. I really appreciate the support. We've just broke 45,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So big, big, big thank you to anybody who's subscribing to the channel. If you're not doing already, but you are watching this live stream, please subscribe on here. And if you're not subscribed to us on any other channel, so we've got our TikTok, our Instagram, just search Catalan Soccer on any popular social media and you will find us. We are also discussing tonight, guys, our My Season Journal, our new book that I've just written personally. I know the cover and the inside pages are like animated with AI. So a lot of people have been talking to me about it and asking, well, is it just an AI written book? There is absolutely no way, guys, that I would put a book that's just written by some computer out for all my subscribers. I've never really sold anything on the channel because I don't believe in selling anything if I haven't made it myself. And this is 18 months of blood, sweat, tears, late nights, all my expertise, all my brother Matt's expertise, putting it into a book to try and help build kids' confidence. Now, not only is fantastic for individual kids where they're just trying to get better at football and the parents are trying to help them improve, we actually sell coaches packages of these as well. where you can buy a team bundle, where your entire team would be working from a journal, where you can reflect after games, you can take them all to training, and you can sit them all down and go, right, guys, in the last game, here's all the things we did so well. In the next game, here's what we want to try and improve on. And buying all the kids into the same way of thinking and getting them all reflecting, like we talked about earlier in the video, trying to reflect on what went wrong, what they need to improve on, can be a really powerful tool, which is why we wrote this journal and which is why I feel so passionate about it. As a coach, I always want to do my best to try and help other coaches, which is why this channel started, which is why we do videos like this. But it's tough because I get requests from coaches where they want to do a Zoom call, they want me to come and coach their team, they want me to come and help. And I wish I could do that. This book is the best thing that I can do to try and bridge that gap a little bit. Peter, thank you for the question. So I'm just going to click back on that and make sure I got that. Let me find it. Where's the chat view gone? I've lost my chat view. Anyone who knows YouTube and knows how to get my chat view back on would be much appreciated. Um, so Peter, if you just want to ask that one again for me, if you type that one again, that'd be great. I actually a student and I've had a hard time balancing studies with football, my love. Now, Isha, that's difficult to do. I would always say do your best to prioritize studies. You need to make sure that comes first. And football is one of those things where there's always time in a day for football, but you have to push yourself through things like, is it cold outside? Is it bad weather? Is it a little bit late at night? Do it anyway, right? Push yourself through it. There is no way that whether you get to the pro level, semi-pro, anywhere, below that, the only way you're going to reach maximum potential in doing something is going over and above and doing the extras. I've done that as a coach. I spend a lot of hours after sessions reflecting, planning, making sure that everything that I've done is the best that I can do it. So the best advice I would give you in terms of your studies and your football is make sure your studies are absolutely nailed down and to do everything you can in terms of making sure that you can do everything that you can with your football as well. What's the best advice you could have given some planning sessions? All right. Okay. So for less players and less able players, what I tend to try and do is whenever you've got less players in a session, work more technical rather than tactical. I've been coaching a group recently where there's only 4 or 5 players turning up, and it's quite difficult. And I felt the sessions kind of dwindling in numbers, so I made the sessions more tactical. Sorry, more technical in terms of the focus. In terms of the ability of kids, the ball is everything at low ability levels. So whether it's a lack of experience, a lack of number of touches, there are no shortcuts to getting them better with the ball. Now, if you're striking the ball, passing the ball, crossing the ball, all those things are extrinsic and they give the ball away. And every time they strike the ball, they are losing time with it. I would start every single session you do with at least 15 to 20 minutes of ball mastery, ball work, speed, touches, and trying to make sure that they're really comfortable with the ball. Once they get comfortable with the ball at their feet, then everything else starts to fall into place. So build it like a pyramid, and the base of that pyramid is ball mastery first. And then as we start to get to things like passing and receiving, they come to the next levels of the pyramid. Advanced stuff right at the top, like crossing and heading and far corner finishing, leave all that stuff till later on. But the main priority is get the ball mastery first and foremost. Even if you're doing passing practice or the session topic is a little bit different, just spend 5, 10, 15 minutes at the start of every single session doing ball mastery. I guarantee your kids will thank you for it. You'll thank yourself for it in a few months' time. Guys, 22 viewers on the live stream. I would have been happy with 2. And I've been happy with 1 that wasn't, mum watching. So a big thank you to everybody that's watching the live stream. If you've got any questions, guys, please let me know in the comments. The comments seem to be sort of coming up and then disappearing on me. So if I miss a question, just ask it again, type it again. I promise I'll come back to it. Yeah, so I just think in terms of managing those lower ability levels, managing kids where you're trying to make sure that they're getting good as quickly as possible. Ball mastery is always helpful. That builds ball confidence. Ball confidence then builds self-belief. Self-belief then turns into kids practicing at home and being inspired. And I think the more that you can try and encourage kids to go home and practice, the better. Thanks, Shane. I coach mixed under sixes and a girls under eights group. Girls are pretty new to football. How do I find increased aggression? That's a very good question. It's not just girls, Shane. So to be fair, I understand where you're coming from in terms of girls football. That you might feel like they're missing that little bit of testosterone that sometimes boys get a little bit more than girls do, or sometimes earlier than girls. Whenever your kids are missing from aggression, tackles, tenacity, imposing themselves in games, you have to train it. Now, that's not easy to do. And it's sometimes quite awkward to think, how am I going to get these kids running around almost throwing themselves into tackles because I don't want them to hurt each other. I don't want, them sort of overexert themselves. But I think you have to do that. Now, there's a video on my YouTube channel that you can watch. Shameless plug. There's also other videos out there you can find. But if you look on my YouTube channel for a video about how to get kids to tackle, that isn't the art of tackling. I'm not teaching people there how to pinch the ball or time the perfect slide tackle and turn into Paolo Maldini. What we're teaching in videos like that is how to get kids comfortable with making contact, how to get kids to understand that when they do make contact, they don't necessarily get hurt. It's what shin pads are for, it's what boots are for. Getting comfortable with making 50-50 block tackles, getting comfortable with getting their arm, shoulder, body across someone else when they're trying to battle for the ball. If you're practicing those things in training, it won't happen immediately, but I guarantee it will start to make a difference. Now, it took me with it was an under nines team that I was running. It took me about 3 months of those style drills, just forming the first 15 minutes of every session and then going into something else. But it took me about 3 months altogether to get the top 2 or 3 kids. One of them was a very, very advanced boy in terms of ball mastery, just didn't want to tackle. And then the kids at the bottom end just scared of the ball, flinching, like me in goal, just terrified of a ball getting kicked at them. Um, and after 2 or 3 months of doing it, it made a huge difference. And I mean to the point where I had kids that were blocking shots that previously would have jumped out the way of. I had kids battling midfield and winning 50-50 tackles where the parents were almost going, oof, what a tackle. That's what you need to do. Peter, I missed that question earlier. Thanks for doing it again. I watched the coach go through their sessions working on passing. Okay, passing is such a difficult topic to coach because depending on the ability level of the passing players, if you're trying to improve passing, but then you're trying to get kids better at receiving, it's so reliant on everybody else within the drill. So, like, if you're doing ball mastery, I can have 15 kids on the pitch and they're all working individually with the ball. And if the kid next to me isn't very good and I'm amazing, that kid's ability with the ball doesn't impact my ability to keep training. Passing's so difficult because it's that chain and that sequence where if the kid next to me isn't great at passing, I can't then receive my pass correctly. And if I give them the perfect pass, they don't receive it right and it can all fall down. Passing takes a long time because you need to build trust and you need to make sure that whenever you're working on passing with kids, you're trying to build up that sort of confidence in each other, but also letting everybody know that mistakes are okay and teaching kids how to do their best to deal with good passes and bad passes. If you watch a video on my YouTube channel that I posted recently, the thumbnail is Messi in a black Miami kit and it's coaching kids first touch. And in that session, for the entirety of the session, I give kids the worst passes you've ever seen. I purposely play bad passes to kids because I'm coaching them how to fix the errors. I'm not playing the perfect pass at 12 miles an hour that rolls right to their strong foot because then your kids don't really get that much better at receiving. Or even if they do get a little bit better at receiving, that's not the pass they receive from their teammates. So I then try my best to work on passing with kids. And then when I work on receiving with kids, I give them the bad passes, the ones that bobble, the ones that are to the weak side, the ones that don't quite reach them, the ones that got too much pace on them, that zip into the feet. By doing all those things, it can really then help because then if you are doing a passing style practice, or you've got kids where the ball starts to get away from you a little bit because the passes aren't quite the same quality that you're hoping for, then all of a sudden the kids that are receiving the passes are still equipped to do so. Guys, 32 people on the live stream. A big thank you to everybody who's watching. I saw a comment there from something random asking about the sort of breaking your sessions into maybe a bit of training, then a bit of play, then a bit of training. I love doing that. You do have to be careful with it because sometimes going from playing in a game to then go back to training, sometimes people don't want to do it. So, like, if you've got kids where they get into the chaos of a game, the excitement of a game, then all of a sudden you're taking them back into a drill. That can be quite hard to do. So, whenever you're going to do a sort of, they call it like a whole part whole, they used to call it. If you're doing that kind of drill where you maybe start with a bit of a game, then take them into a scenario, then take them back into a game, explain it from the beginning, let the kids know that that is what the scenario is going to be, that we're going to do this, then we're going to go into a drill, then we're going to come back to a game so that the kids aren't sort of surprised when you blow the whistle and stop them and take them into a drill. But it can be a really effective way of coaching. And I like doing it, especially in 1v1s. I'll go, here's a ball mastery skill I want you to try and work on. Then we're going to take it into 1v1s and 2v2 scenarios, try and beat someone and give it your best in the game scenario. Then we're going to go back and learn a different skill. Then we're going to come back and do the game version again and work on it and bounce back and forth between the two. Okay. Guys, please let me know any of your comments if you want to repost any of them. They are flying in thick and fast sometimes, so they're hard to keep hold of. Peter, let's just have a look. Thank you. You're very welcome, Peter. Thank you for the comment and thank you for joining in with the chat. Really appreciate it. Always makes these live streams that little bit easier when you're not just talking to yourself. 24 people on the live stream. Guys, if anybody that's watching now could leave a like, just click on that thumbs up. It helps push it to the algorithm so more people see it, and it really helps. FT Gaming, thank you for commenting. How do I know when to move on from dribbling or passing, for example? I find that sometimes they find it boring staying on the same thing. Variance is key. Very good question, by the way. So, variance is important. And what I mean by variance is if you're just working on dribbling constantly and kids are starting to get bored of it, then that probably tells you that things have been the same for too long. By changing things and making the practice different, that can really help. I will get back to your question in a second. Thank you, dude. So, try and make sure that when you're coaching something, it's not the same for too long. Now, even if you get kids to swap stations, you get kids to train against different people, you get kids to move to different parts of the pitch, the more you can vary things, the more you can sort of almost hide that things are similar. If things are too similar for too long, everybody gets bored of them. The best thing in the world, if you do it over and over again, it does get boring. So even though kids love shooting, if you did 15 weeks in a row of shooting, kids would get bored of it. Keep varying your practices, keep it different, and maybe try and incorporate a practice where it involves both. So if you want to work on dribbling and you want to work on passing, maybe try and develop a practice where they have to do both involved in it. Thank you, FT, for the comment. Eric Palmer, what's your take on rondos at under sevens, under eights, and how long? The dreaded rondo. First of all, learn the variables of rondos. It doesn't just mean 15 kids in a 25-yard circle with one headless chicken in the middle chasing the ball around. I've seen drills, or not even drills, I've seen like warm ups before a game on a Sunday, and I've gone to a match and cringed because they've got the entire team stood around the centre circle with one kid in the middle chasing the ball. The kid in the middle can't get the ball, the gaps are too big. And the kids around the outside are freezing and bored because they're touching the ball once out of every maybe 15 touches. Even if it circulates perfectly, you want to get one every 15. So whenever you're going to do anything that's a rondo, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, a perfect circle with one player in the middle. But those style drills can be really good for getting the ball moving, getting kids moving quickly. So maybe make it 4v2, make it, 6v3. Give an outnumbered overload advantage to the possession team and keep the balls moving quick and keep them firing quick. Sometimes I do them by hand first, because if you do them by hand, kids will learn the pattern and the process. Then when the ball comes in on the floor, they've got a chance of doing it with their feet. The cringe moment is when you start a rondo with kids of that age group, and after the first two passes, they lose the ball, and then you try another one, and they lose it after one pass, and you almost think, oh, is this just pointless? Am I getting anywhere with this? But the kids aren't starting to yet understand the patterns because you can't even get a pattern out because the ball keeps getting given away because the kids can't pass it properly. Get the ball moving by hand, get them doing almost, one touch, two touch play with their hands first. And once they get good at that in that netball style game, then you can start to involve it with the feet. There is no reason why, if it's taught well and if it's moved appropriately for kids, the under sevens and under eights can't do rondo style practice. It doesn't have to form the majority of your session, and it certainly doesn't have to, you know, overtake the priorities of things like ball mastery. But there is absolutely an argument for kids need to be passing. This is not a particular football question, but a standard question. My teenager and all my friends party all night on the weekends while I wake up early and train. Okay, so that's like motivation in football. So with things like that, it's difficult to stay on task sometimes. If you don't regret that you're enjoying yourself. Everybody needs a break. You can't train football and work hard every single minute of every single day. Do your best to still enjoy your social life, still have plenty of fun, but also, give everything that you can to your football. And if you need to let your hair down every now and again and see some friends and have some social time, it's very good for your mental health. And mental health is everything. So look after that. All right. Good question, man. Guys, keep the questions coming. We've got 28 people on the live stream, and it's great to see, but not that many questions coming in for that many people. So everybody, drop me a question. Could be anything. Ask me about, what I'm drinking out of my cup, or what the book is behind me, or a question about coaching. Whatever you want to ask. Work hard, play hard, Peter. I love that. Um, when it comes to work, I think some people can overdo work, but I think you have to try and keep a bit of play in your work. I think that's the key to it. Part of the reason that I do football coaching as a job is I was working in jobs that I really disliked, and I needed something that made me passionate and enthusiastic. And now when I go to work every day and I get to coach kids, it feels almost like play. I don't feel like I work that hard. And it's not that I don't work long hours and don't give it my all, but when you're enjoying what you do, it doesn't feel anywhere near as much like work. So it almost feels like you're getting a bit of that play time when you're at the office or on the football pitch. Thoughts on 3v3 structure coming in for Mini? Sheldon, thank you for the comment. Build and break session video. Excellent. Like the build and break session video was really, really useful because I came up with that concept, ran it for probably 2 or 3 weeks. It made huge differences to kids, and now it's become like one of my core sessions that I do all the time. What do you do with understanding that you bicker or tease during training? That comes down to standards. Thank you, Laidback Farm, for the comment. Standards and expectations have to be set out by the coach. So kids will bicker and argue because they're kids, they're going to do that. But in the same way that if two kids were bickering as brother and sister or siblings at home, you have to lay out the standards. This is what's acceptable. Does everybody promise that they're going to try and stick to that? This is what the consequence is for breaking any of those expectations. Does everybody agree that if someone in this group breaks that rule and doesn't meet those expectations and starts bickering, starts arguing, etc., then do you all agree that this should be the consequence? Yeah, cool, right, we all agree. Then, when kids make you that promise at the start of a session, then when anybody breaks that rule, they broke that promise too. And then everybody else can be saying to you, well, yeah, we agree. We all think that that person should sit out or, that kid needs to take a break. So I think with bickering, with arguing, you need to come down on it harsh. And I mean pretty firm. Make sure it's unacceptable. Do at the start of every session that you need to for 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks if you need to, and make sure kids know this is the expectation. You might have heard me say it before, but I say it every time because this is the rules. If you break the rules, consequence. Do we all agree? Are we ready to play properly, play fair, play nice? If kids buy into that and they do it, great. If they don't, you bring the consequences in. It's an iterative process. It takes a few iterations to get there, but be firm. Remember, you're the adult, you're the one in charge. In the same way that a teacher has to do in the classroom, it's eyes on me, eyes on the whiteboard. Make sure you're paying attention. If you're not, here's the consequence. I nearly missed the question about the 3v3s. The 3v3s that are coming into small sided football, I already do in most of my sessions. Okay. So 3v3 football for me means more touches of the ball, means more opportunities to score, means more opportunities to tackle, means shorter distances for kids to run to impact the game. If you put every kid now at under sevens on an 11-a-side pitch and put them in 11-a-side football, they would just drown. It'd be awful. I think we'd all agree on that, right? So what can we agree on is that the bigger the pitch is, the harder the game is to play. So by having a smaller pitch, it makes things a little bit easier for them. It increases the number of touches on the ball. It makes everybody build that little bit more confidence that they're scoring more goals. I do agree that 3v3 is a good style of football for kids to play. Now, the age to which that goes up to is debatable. You could put very, very advanced players at 14 years old in 3v3s and they play some incredible football. They'd have to think quickly, they'd have to make very good decisions, and they'd have to not get caught in possession. And all those things are very relevant because at some point during a 11-a-side game of football, you will end up in one of those situations on the edge of your own box, on the edge of their box, in central midfield. So 3v3 football, I think, is a really good idea. It does concern me a little bit that if it's not coached in the right way and if it's not met with the right enthusiasm by coaches, they almost feel like they're dragging themselves through it, that it might not have the benefit that the FA think that it will do. But I do see the benefit of it. When I was younger, I went from playing sort of 7-a-side football up to 11-a-side football. There was no 9-a-side. And because of my slight frame, my lack of athleticism, I dropped out of football. I stopped playing it. I went to 11-a-side too early. I was playing on the same size pitch at 12 years old as my dad played on a Sunday, who was a full grown adult. I got none of the ball. I didn't enjoy it. And I dropped out of the game and stopped playing a long, long time ago. If 7-a-side, 9-a-side football had lasted longer and had come into the game earlier for me, I'd have probably still been playing. And that's probably the case now for a lot of kids out there. So smaller formats, I do like it. I do agree with it to a certain extent. it doesn't have to form every single match that those kids do for the next 5 years. I think you should still be arranging some 5v5, some 7v7 style friendlies. I think that's still good for kids to see what's coming up in the future and start to develop some of those key traits that that's going to need. But I also think that, if it was 11 aside at 5 years old, it wouldn't be much of a game, would it? Guys, any other questions in the comments? As I was answering those last couple, I've probably missed a couple, so do let me know. 30 people still on the live stream. Big thank you for tuning in. Um, we are talking tonight as well. You can see the pinned product on the YouTube video. This is my shameless plug for the evening, my season journal. I don't sell anything on this channel because I don't believe in selling something that I didn't make with my own bare hands. And this, and about 5 million layers on Photoshop and 10 years of coaching experience have gone into this try and build, not just for you as an individual, but for a coach as well. There are team bundles available on our website, myseasonjournal.com. Have a check it out. See what you think. It's a very, very good tool. We've built it to help kids build their confidence. It's very Pixar style animation to get kids to buy into it. There's match reports, there's challenges, there's trackable stats, there's achievements. There's 1,000 different things in this book that I've built over the last sort of 10 years of experience that I've got with kids that will help build confidence in kids, that will push kids to another level. If your kids are striving, they need to improve. Something random. What your thoughts are getting a mentor for coaching? Been told you get. Yeah, so mentoring can be really powerful. I'm a little bit biased on this one because I had an incredible mentor as I evolved into coaching. So my older brother Matt was a very, very experienced coach. He's still one of the best coaches I know. He probably is the best coach I know, to be fair. But he mentored me for a long time. The difference in me as a person and as a coach was enormous through that mentoring process. Now, how closely a mentor can help you is different. A mentor can be over Skype. A mentor could be, meeting you every day for a coffee. They could be working with you on your sessions. Mentoring is very important. I offer mentoring for coaches because I think it's one of the things that brought me on the most as a coach. And I think having a great mentor, it it speeds up the learning process. So rather than you doing things and thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right things? Am I doing things at the right time? Are these kids getting the best out of me? Am I getting the best out of them? You can ask yourself all these questions where you almost think, am I on the right path? Sometimes a mentor can help cut out the questions and go, no, you're not on the right path. You need to be doing this, improve on this, do more of that, stop doing this, talk for longer, talk for less, etc. But then the other thing that a mentor can do is they can just be a really good soundboard to bounce ideas off. And most of the mentoring that I do, a lot of it is yes, I can be your mentor. If you do need mentoring, guys, drop me an email, drop me a DM, any of my socials, drop me a message anytime. We do offer sort of coach mentoring, but it's something that genuinely, if I hadn't had mentoring, I would have ended up here as a coach in about 10 years' time instead. It would have taken me a lot longer. Regarding consequences, should it be a group punishment or individual? Peter, I'm here for you, man. That's why this live stream's here. I'm here to mentor you. Ask me anything you want, buddy. Um, yeah, I think consequences. I think it's very, very harsh when you say to a group of kids where 75% of them are listening, concentrating, and trying their best. 25% of them have been a bit silly, rolling around on the floor, throwing the astroturf in the air, whatever. And you punish everybody. It's not that military style. One of us has let the whole team down, so I'm going to punish the whole team. Because in a dressing room with Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, right? If you said to those guys, he's let us down, so you're all getting punished, there will be lots of peer pressure that the people who feel aggrieved will put on the person who's getting them punished and go, don't you ever do that again. You can't put us all through that. That's not fair. And there's almost this like self cleansing of they make sure that the bad behavior stops. That does not happen with 7 and 8 year old boys, okay, or girls. If you try and put that across as like, I'm going to punish the whole team because a couple of them weren't doing it, right, or a couple of them were spoiling it, it just doesn't work. It doesn't have the idea that you maybe hope it would have. Affect the individual, consequence the individual, speak to the individual parent, get the parent to help you with having chats before sessions, etc. Don't punish the group. Never works for me. Best skill to teach under six is it passing or dribbling? Find passing the hardest. Dribbling, 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 dribbling all day, every day, and then maybe a bit of passing on the end of it. All right. Think of football as a pyramid in terms of like the development. Right. I'm going to teach you a pyramid scheme here, but it's one you actually want to buy into. Football is a foundation of ball mastery. If you are comfortable and you are confident with the ball at your feet, I guarantee you will be a better footballer, right? Even centre backs and goalkeepers have to have good ball mastery to make sure they don't give the ball away and they don't make any mistakes, right? Or fewer mistakes. Build it on that foundation. Then bring in things like receiving and passing and sharing the ball and decision making. But everything comes from that base. And if you try and go, I'm going to create the kid with the best through ball ability in the world, he's going to have amazing vision. He can't have it. There's a reason he can't have it. It's because he doesn't have the confidence with his foot on top of the ball to get his head up and then scan for where's the gap, where's the next player, where's the defender, how far is that distance, where does that ball need to go between him and the keeper. All those amazing traits that some of the best players in the world have as midfielders, it comes from comfort on the ball. If you're incredibly good with the ball at your feet, then the head comes up and the vision starts and the awareness picks up and the decision making improves. So build it on a foundation of ball mastery and then scale it from there. Great question, by the way. Guys, any other questions? If you have hit one in the comments and I haven't answered it, just copy and paste it and ping me again. I promise I'll get to everything that I can. How do I increase speed with the ball? And should I play futsal type football for increasing this or big size football fields? Speed of decision making, speed of thought, speed with the ball is better in tight areas. So do it small. I won't go on for too long because we just talked about the benefits of 3v3, but do it small. I just recently started coaching kids range from 12 to 14. They are beginner level. Step by step, and like I've just mentioned there, you do need to make sure that you're coaching some ball mastery. If they are beginners, a very easy thing to fix for team football is organisation, right? Organisation is paramount. If even a Premier League manager will go into a team and fix the organisation first, they'll get them defending better, positioning better, organised better. If you do that, that can make an enormous difference to a team. My son's football team, he plays in a local team and they're not the best at attacking corners. They're not amazing defending corners, but in terms of actual general play, they're pretty good, right? And they've lost quite a lot of games this season. And I stand and watch it, and I try and stand and watch it as a dad and not as a coach. I try not to get too involved, but I stand and watch it and think they could make massive differences by coaching some organisation. Where do I stand? How do I get goal side? How do I track a runner? Where do I stand at a corner? Where's everybody's positions when we're attacking? What do I do when my goalkeeper gets the ball? Those bits of organisation can make a massive difference for team play. So individual ball work and mastery of the ball will really help your confidence on the ball, make kids get, a little bit more comfortable with it. However, if that stuff is just, some part of it and it can't be all of it, the sort of seasoning on top of it is organising where do players stand? How do we take a corner short? How do we prepare ourselves from a goal kick to play out from the back? Where do I position myself at throw-ins? What does goal side look like? What does marking mean? All those things that you coach to kids at that youngest age will make a world of difference. It is the first thing that someone like Sam Allardyce would go in to a team that looks like they're going to get relegated. Love your channel. I'm coaching 8-year-old boys. Okay, that's a good question. Variety. Vary how you are delivering the topics without varying the topics too much. So I used to try, right? I used to try and make my sessions so varied that no kid would ever see the same session twice. I made this promise to me, to my parents, to my kids. I don't know why, but I thought if none of my sessions are ever the same, a kid can never get bored. Parents can never complain. And what I ended up with is almost this like machine gun approach of dribbling, then passing, then shooting, then decision making, then timing, then goalkeeping, then fitness. And I just used to do all these sessions and it just was a bit difficult to track, difficult to manage. Kids didn't get much repetition. Think of football and ball skills and confidence like times tables. Two times tables, then two times tables, then two times tables, then three times tables, but just make sure you remember the twos. Then do threes, then threes, then three, but make sure you remember the twos. Then move on to fours, but remind them of the threes and then remind them of the twos. And you are gradually building, but you are always going back and trying to remind. And eventually, what you will end up with is a kid who knows his 12 times tables, but he learned his twos, his threes, his fours in that order. And even when he's doing his 12s, the things that he learned on his twos and his threes and his fours helped him get to his 12s. That makes sense. So hopefully that analogy wasn't complete nonsense. But what I'm trying to get out there is variety is good, but don't vary it too much. DM or email. DM, you can drop me a message on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, any of those. If you want to drop me an email to ben@catalansoccer.com, and just let me know if you've got any further questions or you needed the mentoring. a mixed sort of level and a mixed ability. That's quite a common one that we're getting come up. So players getting bored when they're running drills. If players are getting bored, what I would always say is what's missing. Kids don't get bored in a match, or very rarely, unless they're losing by quite a lot of goals. So if I've got a plan and a drill that kids getting bored in, and I've got a match that kids love, what's the difference? Where can I fill that gap? If I'm doing a session where kids getting bored and they're working on dribbling, well, if the dribbling is not against defenders and it's not with a goal at the end, then that's what it's missing from a match. Because in a match, they want to dribble, beat a defender, score past the goalkeeper. So I'm coaching dribbling and I'm getting the basics of the dribbling across, but I'm then making sure that as I'm doing the dribbling, I'm incorporating defenders. I'm incorporating goal scoring. I'm incorporating a goalkeeper. I'm incorporating a bit of drama to it. I'm making it a team. It's red team versus blue team because that match opposition of two kids and two teams fighting against each other is part of the drama why kids love football. So I think whenever you're getting kids where they're asking a lot about matches or you feel like you're losing them in terms of boredom, do your absolute best to make it game realistic. How does this feel like a game? Or how can I gamify this a little bit? Like we were talking about earlier in the stream, I don't know if you caught it, but to be able to liken something to a football game, or to be able to liken it even to a PlayStation or an Xbox game, like kids spend half of their time, right, with these things in their hand, right? And the companies that make this thing are worth billions of pounds for a reason. And it's because kids are addicted to them. Kids are addicted to them because everything is XP, it's points, it's levels, it's beating a boss, it's getting upgrades, it's all that stuff. Do that in a football session, do that in a curriculum of weeks. Now, what we did in my season journal, right? And this is proof that I practice what I preach, right? This is one of the pages from my season journal, right? And you'll see the big XP logo here. And then there's an XP tracker where across the entire season, right, these kids will track their experience points. And every single thing that they do across the season refers back to their XP. And in that XP, let's go through here to one of the match reports. So they've got all these little XP trackers on all their questions, on their match day challenges. What we've tried to do in a book like this, and what you should be doing in your sessions, is you're trying to get kids to gamify it in their head. It's not, I'm not trying to get a little bit better at football, but I'm trying to improve my XP. I'm trying to level up. I'm trying to get better at everything that I would try to do in like a video game. So I think gamifying things like that can really, really help you. We do have a book for grassroots coaches as well. Good question, FT. Thank you for that. You can get that book on myseasonjournal.com, or it should be tagged as a product on this video. Let me double check. This pin to the live stream should already be on there, but myseasonjournal.com. Apologies if it's flipped for you. I don't have a mirror, so I can't flip it. It won't work. But anyway, so that book is available on myseasonjournal.com, or you can check us out on the pinned product in there. So yeah, a book that I made for coaches, I wrote a 12-week skills program. That 12-week skills program is available on Amazon. If you just Google Catalan Soccer 12-week skills program, and that's a really good book for like, it's 3 months worth of training, lots of drills, lots of development, lots of ways that drills that I've done that I've worked that works really, really well for me and my kids. So I've gone, right, how am I going to get the best out of this to give to a coach, even if they've got no idea what they're doing? You've never coached a session before, 12-week skills program. You can take that book, and I guarantee you can get some really good messages out across to your kids. It even has things in that book of what does the coach say? Because that's what I feel is missing from so much. Like this video, if you've ever watched a drill or watched a course or read a book that tells you guys, oh, here's how to run the drill. And you think, yeah, but what do I say? What do I actually say, right? And in a book that I've written, that 12-week skills program, and everything that I try and do when I coach, is I try and actually teach coaches what to say to the kids. Like, that's the nugget that you want, isn't it? You know, if you could listen to Pep Guardiola, you wouldn't want to know anything other than what does he actually say to his players. And that's so powerful. The words that you use to kids can be absolutely everything. So good question. Thank you, guys. Let me just click back on the live chat. How do I get my under 13 group to touch the ball outside when they play practice? That is a very good question. So you've got under 13s, and they're not really that inspired to touch the ball away. Well, this is part of the problem. These things are very addictive and quite difficult to get kids off. Again, using something like like a journal, like a tracker. I've actually got we do a pro edition of the My Season journal where there's harder achievements, where there's it's a little bit more complex for sort of older kids, nines plus. But if you've got kids where they're not really engaging away from football sessions, whether that's your kid individually or whether it's your team, things like this journal can really help them to sort of be inspired to train away from the pitch. What you want is a kid with a love for the game where they see the development opportunity and they see everything that they can be, not just as an idea on a screen or a video game. You want them to actually feel like they can be that. So the reason we wrote the journal is to make sure that when a kid is coming away from their sessions, whether they or their matches, whether they lost, whether they scored, whether they didn't, whether they kept a clean sheet, whether they didn't, there's something that they can go back and go, right, what did I achieve today? What did I improve on? How did I get better? What do I need to improve on next time? That can then inspire practice. Practice is so underestimated. The 10,000 hours rule that people talk about. I actually think if you want to be a pro footballer, it's more than that because there's probably millions of kids out there doing 10,000 hours. So get the practice in. Is UFC worth doing over the standard coaching course? Is there a benefit? Um, I have a slight problem with FA courses, and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be here without FA courses. So I understand the relevance of them. I understand the importance. I do feel like Thank you, Peter. Much appreciated. Click the link on this video or head to myseasonjournal.com. So I do feel like some of the courses that you take up, sometimes the online courses these days, especially over COVID, a lot of the sort of practical courses stopped. Um, but sometimes you're doing a course and it's teaching you how to set up a drill. You're doing the course with a load of other adults who all understand football, where to stand. They listen to instructions first time. They're all there to get their qualification and go home. I found that the UEFA C license, I found that even a couple of the goalkeeping course and things that I've done, it was actually funny enough, it was the disabled football course that I did that I found taught me the most. But I found that those courses were really sort of lacking in the reality of football coaching. So I was setting up drills and doing things with a lot of guys and women that were like there for the course, and I passed my course. And then I went and tried to run those same drills with a lot of 8-year-old boys that weren't listening, that were too busy running around going crazy, that weren't switched on, that didn't really want to be there. And I was like, how in God's name did that course prepare me for this situation? And it didn't. That's why I started this YouTube channel. That's why I've wrote the 2 books that I've written, because I know what it's like as a coach to try absolutely everything that you can to try and get the best out of the kids. And the courses don't really necessarily give you that. You need to do as much as you can to learn and absorb what you can from experienced people who are teaching you like real world scenarios. And the more that you can do that, the better. That's why I offer coach mentoring. That's why I always encourage people to go find videos on YouTube or TikTok or anywhere that you can find a decent platform where it's not a really sterilized environment. But get like this video if you've ever watched a video where it is a very experienced coach working with a very experienced bunch of well-behaved players in a perfect environment with good weather, with good lighting, with good audio. That's not grassroots football. Where's the kid who doesn't listen? Where's the mum who turns up 15 minutes late because she's been fighting through the traffic and the kid doesn't know how the drill starts? Like, we've all been there, right? But that's not how courses are taught, and they leave out that realism. That's not how YouTube and videos look great, so they don't want to show you that. If you watch some of my videos on my channel, you'll find some of my recent ones, and they are literally no holds barred, half an hour video, me coaching, all the bells and whistles and all the warts too, and anything that goes wrong, you just deal with it the best that you can, and hopefully you guys can take something from that. How long do you talk during the practice with the kids? So I always get told I talk too much. Bear in mind this was supposed to be a half an hour live stream. I'm already on an hour, so apologies for that. But I always find that I talk a little bit too much. But if you're engaging when you're talking, if you can keep kids listening, if you're animated, if you're emotional, if you're getting a reaction out of kids, if you're sparking questions from kids, if you're getting a hold of a kid when he's not listening, you can talk for longer. If you talk slow and boring and monotone and you don't capture people's attention, you are going to lose them. And then you can't talk for long. 15 seconds and they're out. Kids these days, and adults, to be fair, um, kids these days and adults, what you tend to find is the retention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. If you swipe through an Instagram reel and it doesn't grab your attention in the first second and a half, you've probably swiped off it. That's how short attention spans can be these days. Now, sometimes it's a bit easier than that with the football coach because you're actually coaching something the kids might want to listen to. But if you're losing kids, read body language, read, are they making eye contact? Read, are they starting to walk away or play around with the ball, and stop talking and get back in the drill. Next time you do it, try and talk a little bit less, try and get to your points a little bit quicker. That's why in some of the books that I've written, it tries to give you really concise coaching points. What I try and do, if I ever feel like I'm talking too much or kids are starting to switch off, I go back to basics, which is my 3-word model. Whether it's a political campaign or whether it's a tagline from the latest, Xbox game, there's always um there's a marketing strategy to what people do, and it's like, keep it short, keep it punchy, keep it memorable, right? So I was doing a drill before where kids had to show me that they could be fast by getting into a circle. They had to do a skill and they had to try and score a goal. And I just kept repeating, it's skill, speed, score. Speed, skill, score, score, skill, speed. And I just kept repeating those words over and over. And when I brought the kids back in, I was like, skill, we were missing it. We didn't do this, we didn't do that. We need to do more of this. Make sure you show me that skill next time. Off you go. Next time I brought them in, speed. We're not moving fast enough. We're not thinking fast enough. Bring the speed in, blah, 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 blah. Right, next one, score. And I just kept going with that 3-word model throughout the whole session. And then you'll find that kids are listening for longer and listening better because you're punchier and you're putting to your point faster. Ironically, I took quite a long time to cut to my point, but hopefully you got it. Yeah. Guys, any more questions? I planned this live stream to be about half an hour, and there's still 25 people watching and still questions coming in. And I will probably sit here all night unless you all leave me. So if you've got any more questions, please let me know. I like to say we learn the skills, then the skill at speed. Yeah, absolutely, Peter. I think ball confidence first, then impose a little bit of skill, maybe doing it under pursuit. So there's not a risk of getting tackled from the front, but having someone chase you from behind as you're trying to execute a skill can then sort of put that little bit of fear of danger into them, you know, without you actually destroying possession and the kids getting tackled. Please sit here and answer questions all night. I'll see. I'll try. For under 14s and 12, should I give more 1v1s or match situations and drills? I only give con drills once in a while. It depends on the topic. Depends on what you're trying to get out of kids. I would always say that ball mastery and 1v1s gets a good rise out of the kid's ego, but I would also say that the more match play and relevant it can be for those kids at that age is probably useful too. Try and mix it up. Even if you just go first 15 minutes of every session is a bit of a drill and it's 1v1, and then go for your more, match-based practices later on. That's always cool. Right, let me just have a look back through the chat. Any advice for coaching on motivating under 18 that is losing heavily every week? The team is currently in the lowest division of the league. I mean, I literally wrote the book on it. That's a very good question, and unfortunately, it's a very common problem. Unfortunately, when you've got kids where they're low on confidence, one of the hardest things to do as a coach is like tell them lies at the end of the game that everything was great. Like kids at that age, they know the scoreline, they know they lost, they know the other team won, they knew at half time the game was over. That can be really difficult to manage and to motivate. So what we did with when I wrote this book, and this isn't just based on an idea that I had as a hunch, it's something I've been doing for 10 years. What I've always tried to see is the wins in the losses. How do you get a kid to understand what he did well in a game where he lost? How do you get her to see what the best thing that they did today is, even if she lost the game, even if she scored an own goal, where are all the things that I did well? So you might not be able to read this if it's flipped over, but I'll just show you a general idea of it, right? And I'll read some of these out. So in my season journal, what we did is we wrote a chapter that's all about achievements, a bit like Xbox style and achievements. They unlock their XP for doing this. One of them is score a goal as a defender. One of them is save a penalty. Another one is tackle the opponent's captain, make an assist with your weak foot, score from a volley. Like some of these are really advanced, like gold ones. But there's really simple ones in here too. Try a slide tackle, mark a player at a corner, make a clearance, make a weak foot pass, things like that in a game where it's like if kids can come back to their journal after a game and go, we might have lost the game, but I've just ticked off 12 achievements today. And because I've ticked off my 12 achievements, I've just unlocked my silver award that I'm now going to stick up on my bedroom wall. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to get my coach to sign it, my mum and dad to sign it. I can be so proud of myself today. And that can really help. That's why not only do we offer the the My Season Journal as like an individual book, but there's team packages too. So if you go on the website, you can buy a bundle. You get them discounted because you buy them in a bundle. And I swear by them because I wrote this book whilst doing it with my teams, and I found such a difference. One of my good friends, she won't mind me saying, her son's playing in a team where they're losing a lot at the moment. And I speak to her every Thursday morning at my TOTS football class that I go to. And she just says, it's so disheartening for the kids because they keep losing games, but they are trying so hard. And what we're trying to do is sort of get them to see the positives that they're doing. And that's exactly what the journal was written for those teams, those managers, those kids, where you just feel like the world's against you a little bit. And even when you lose a game, you kind of feel like you need something to celebrate. That's exactly what this will hopefully do. So, like the match reports in here and the game stats tracker. So, what this basically does is it gives you lots of different things that you can track for your kids. So, you can be stood at the side of the pitch and you can be ticking off all these. And then, as you're ticking off, in the game, oh, today I'm going to track his tackles. And my little son, Jimmy, he did 15 tackles today. And when he comes off the pitch and goes, "Oh, Mum, we lost today and I feel rubbish. I didn't score any goals." And you go, you did 15 tackles. You did amazing. Your challenge today was tackles. And I ticked them off. We were watching at the side of the pitch. You did unbelievable. I'm going to send that to Grandad. He's gonna love seeing that. Like, what a powerful way to make a kid feel great about a situation where they didn't feel great. That makes sense. So hopefully, you guys can see the benefit of something like this, which is exactly why we wrote it. It is a bit of a it's a bit of a love of mine trying to get kids to feel as good about football as possible, even if they didn't, you know, come off the pitch feeling amazing. Guys, let me just have a look back through the chat, see if there's any other questions. Peter, I always ensure that they have fun. I don't care about the scoreline. We went from winning to losing lots and just have the right storm. Peter, you're absolutely right. And trying to get them to focus on fun over anything else is important. When we don't lose, we learn. It's a great quote. The problem is, right, when we don't lose, we learn. Some parents, some coaches will almost see that as like you're taking the competitive spirit out of the sport, and it is a competitive sport. And I absolutely agree that you want kids to get enjoyment out of everything that they do, but sometimes that can be difficult to get across to kids if they've lost several games in a row, if they're losing by big scorelines, and especially where kids get to the age where they're 8, 9, they're 10 years old, and you can't pull the wool over their eyes. They know they lost by a big margin. They know that the scoreline was 12-0, whatever. Um, so it can be quite difficult to get them to buy into that, when we don't lose, we learn. So that can be a powerful message to try and get across, but not always easy. And that's exactly why we wrote this book, why I give if coaching courses, and I'm actually playing a seminar at the moment where coaches can come down and sort of do this kind of live Q&A. There'll be lots of help and assistance. If you guys would be interested in that kind of coaching seminar, then please do let me know. It's something that I'm very passionate on doing. I'm trying to find the time to do amongst running 2 businesses and launching a brand new book and having 2 kids and everything else. But if you guys would be interested in attending some sort of coaches seminar, then please do let me know. It'll probably be like a ticket only thing. I'll limit the number of coaches that can be there to make sure we get maximum return for the men and women that want to come down and do it. But yeah, if you'd be interested in that, guys, I would love to do so. 32 people on the live stream. A big thank you for watching and joining us here tonight. If you have any questions, you got any comments, you want anything that you want to sort of run by us, then please do so. What is your process when you reflect your training sessions? Like, how do you know what you did well, did bad? How do you know where you need to improve? Reflection is so powerful, but it's really important to not have an ego. So I've come off the training pitch before when I was quite an experienced coach, and I used to come off the pitch and think, those kids didn't turn up tonight, and my drill was brilliant, and it's the kids' fault that it didn't go well. That like egotistical, it can't be me that's wrong, it can't be me that's bad. And I was an idiot. I was completely wrong, and it was always me. And 99% of the time, the kids didn't even do anything wrong. And as you reflect and as you learn, what you get better at doing is basically what I started doing is this is probably the best thing that I have ever bought, and it's just a notepad. And I started writing and reflecting and recapping. I do this not just for my coaching development, I do it for my self development, for my business development, for my emotional well being, all that kind of stuff. Being able to write down and be very honest with no ego. Where did it go wrong? Where did it go right? What do I need to improve on? What am I going to work harder on next week? And what do I owe to those kids for what went wrong this week? The more you can do that, the better. And what I actually started to do, and my YouTube channel came off the back of it, because my sessions were never perfect, and I was beating myself up a little bit about what do I need to improve on. I started filming my sessions, If you can film your sessions back right, I guarantee you can scrub through them at speed, you can skip the bits where you know what went right and what went wrong. But if you went over your sessions, right, and you watched them all back, then you would be able to go, that's where it went wrong. That's where that kid stopped listening. That's where started to feel like the session slipped away from me. So film your sessions, watch them back, and honestly, it can be a really powerful tool. Let's have a look back through the comments, guys, and see who else is chatting on here. You are very welcome. As a Caleb, I've got a good under-9 team. A few players could make it one day. For our newish players, any tips to keep the standard high for the good kids and the newer kids to catch up? We can't split them. Very difficult, but very common problem, Caleb. So, first of all, the more you can encourage the kids that are towards the bottom end of the experience level, the newer kids, to master the ball, the faster they will start to catch up. Send them home practice videos, get them out in the garden with mums and dads and trying to practice. Send the parents of those kids supportive, not constructive criticism style, supportive messages saying, we really want him to improve on this. We're so happy he's joined the team. We really hope that he gets better over time with the ball. And here's something that's really going to help him. If you've got any questions, if you need to chat, if he wants a video from me to tell you, hey, great, see you practicing at home, send me your video, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff that you can do for those younger kids will be really, really, really powerful and can inspire kids to practice. Your job as a coach is not just to make kids better, it's to inspire them to practice more. And if they practice more, they will catch up the kids ahead of them. The kids that are ahead of them, if things are a little bit easier for them, you can just make things harder for them in the sessions. Have two of the newer kids against one of the kids that you've had for longer, match the experience levels in terms of numbers. If two kids is equal to one of your kids that you've had for a longer time, put them in a 2v1 rather than a 1v1 and give the kids a bit more chance for success. Hopefully that's a top tip that you can follow and it will help. Let's have a look back through the live chat. Thanks, Ben. Catch you in the next one. We'll be interested in a seminar. Thank you, Peter. I will let you know when that one's coming up. Can you go over one of your previous reflections of a session to have an example? Okay, so let me pull back the journal here, right? So one thing that you can do is, say for instance, you get your notepad out at the end of the session, right? Here's the main things that we are looking for to improve the session. So first of all, at any point did the kids stop listening to me? If they stopped listening to me, thank you, Kayla, much appreciated. Just ordered the book for my son, Sheldon. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for the support with the book order. Should be talking defense. I'll come back to that question in a second for me, Sheldon. So let's just talk through the previous reflections of a session. So what did the kids need from that session to keep listening for longer? So when did they stop listening to me? When did I notice body language started to be affected? Could I have talked for less time? Could I have changed or varied the practice a little bit more? Second thing, how much relevant was the practice, and did that have a bearing on whether the kids wanted to do it and were bought in to do it? Third thing, how much difference was there to manage in the session where kids switched off and stopped trying because the kids who weren't that successful in the drill just felt like there was no chance of success and they gave up? Couple of things that I then, after that reflection, go, right, well, how do I improve that? First things first, I invite the kids who are that little bit newer to the group or a little bit less experienced to come down earlier next week and come with me, and we'll go on the pitch and we'll spend a bit of time with the ball and build a bit of confidence for 5, 10, 15 minutes of a bit of time just with me. That will help. That will help them catch up a little bit, feel more confident, feel more inspired, feel looked after. Second thing, I go back and go, right, was this match specific enough? Did it feel too much like a drill and too stood still, too, not relevant to the game? Did the kids feel like they wanted to take part in the game as much because there were scores involved? Did they feel like they wanted to take part of it more because it was us versus them and it was reds versus blues or blues versus greens versus reds, and it made it like a tournament style game where there's loads of matches? Did I draw up a leaderboard where it's like, here's the kids all in a row, and I'm going to put a tally chart for every time that a kid does something successful and make it a leaderboard for kids to be able to review halfway through the session? Right, guys, who's top of the leaderboard? It's all things like this that when I'm reevaluating a session, I think, was I missing things like that? And could I bring them into the session next time? And don't be too proud in your reflection. If you're looking back and thinking, this session, if I really was going to honestly score it for how I did and what the kids got out of it, was a 6 out of 10, mark it as that and then go, right, how was it a 7? How was it an 8? How do I make it a 9? How do I get it to a 10? That reflection process is really important, so make sure you're doing it. Where can the book be bought? Go on myseasonjournal.com. I don't know if you can see this because it might be backwards, but myseasonjournal.com. Or if you search on any of the socials any of these here, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Shopify as well, on TikTok. Go just search for My Season Journal and it will come up on there. So myseasonjournal.com. It's a fairly new website, so if you do purchase one on there, a big, big, big thank you. Please leave us a review when you'll get your book. There are 3 different versions of the book as well, because first of all, we wanted to make sure that there's one for girls and for boys. So there's 2 separate versions. Whether you've got a girl or a boy out there playing football, you will find one that they love. Then we've done a pro edition, which is for older kids, kids that are taking their football that little bit more seriously or a bit more advanced. We are even maybe looking at doing a girls edition of the pro as well, and splitting that, but we're going to see how well we do for delivery. Any chance you deliver it to the US? We actually do. We have just started international shipping on the book as well. So it is only US and UK delivery. Caleb, whereabouts are you, dude? Because if I can get a copy to you, I will do. All right. Don't care where you are in the world. I will find a way. There will be a shipping label somewhere with your name on it. Okay, buddy. But yeah, we do ship to the US and the UK at the moment. South Africa, not that far away. I might fly over, but we'll get you a book. I promise, Caleb. If you put an order through, okay, and you order it, in fact, I tell you what. No, send me an email and email me to inbox at myseasonjournal.com, right? Send that to inbox at myseasonjournal.com. Let me know your name, what your address is, and I will process an order for you manually on the website. I'll send you an invoice, you can pay it, and I will ship it to you. I promise. All right. I would buy a copy to Portugal. It's coming to Portugal too. All right. If it's good enough for Ronaldo, it's good enough for you. All right. So Portugal as well. Basically, what we want to do with this book, guys, and we only really started it in the UK, and as it's grown, I didn't realize how broad my audience was. So I thought I just had a lot of UK coaches because I'm from Leeds in the UK. Then all of a sudden, you realize actually there's coach from America, there's coach from Europe, there's coach from South Africa apparently watching. So yeah, we started with UK shipping. As that's gone really well, we've started with the US shipping, and then we will start to look further afield. Now, obviously, with international shipping, the cost of the shipping might be a little bit higher, but I guarantee I will make it as cheap as possible for you guys to get your hands on them. You can click on the product in the link, it will take you through to the Shopify. If it won't let you order the journal, then all you've got to do is just drop me an email, inbox at myseasonjournal.com, and then when we get that email through, I can process a manual order for you. Love the goals, will email soon. Thank you, Caleb. Much appreciated, man. Guys, still 31 people on the live stream. If anyone has got any questions, any topics you want to discuss, I was planning on coming off this about 35 minutes ago, and there's still a bit of coffee in the pot, so I'll keep going. I can't wait. You're the best at explaining things and breaking it down. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Breaking things down is everything. I once said this, right. I was coaching a video on the rainbow flick, and people go, "Why the hell are you coaching a rainbow flick? No one ever used it. It's pointless." And I thought, you know what? It's a bit of fun. It's things that kids love to practice. It's a thing that a coach might want to learn to be able to show a kid. Just a bit of show off. It's nice sometimes. And as I was coaching it, someone said to me, they were talking about Neymar, and I was like, "Yeah, but even though Neymar can do it, it doesn't mean he can explain how to do it. Some of the best players in the world don't make the best coaches." And then I realized, you know what it is? The difference is an ability level of being able to do something doesn't necessarily give you the ability level to break it down and explain it. So what I have tried to do, and I've broken this down to like my own science in doing it, I try and break everything down, whether it's decision making, passing, dribbling, a skill technique, shooting. I try and break it down to its absolute base core mechanics and the fundamentals of how does your body do it? How does your brain need to do it? And then once you do that, and once you break things down to that level and make it so anybody can understand it, then when you're trying to explain it to them, they're more likely to be able to absorb it. What I tend to find is like people try and explain it on almost like an adult level. They explain it on the way that you might see it explained on Sky Sports, and when a kid doesn't understand that and can't get it to register, then all of a sudden there's that gap in terms of almost like a translation gap. You need to translate it into how would a kid learn it? How do they understand it? What analogy or metaphor could you use to try and get their head around it? How can you get them to understand which part of the body they need to move or rotate or how to do it. And when you can break things down like that, it really helps. And then because I can break things down for a kid to be able to do them, when I have to break it down for an adult to do it, I find it really easy because it's like I'm already doing it for a 6-year-old to understand. I can definitely do it for a 26-year-old. That makes sense. So guys, good questions. Thank you for the comments. I relate to the level that teachers are explaining things in school. Try use some of their methods too. Absolutely, Caleb. The problem that I find is for a teacher, sometimes they're explaining things to kids that kids aren't that bothered about learning. Not every kid is passionate about every school subject. I always find that we've got that little bit easier as football coaches because most kids we coach are in love with the game. So they want to listen, they want to learn. So that always helps when you've got that buy-in from a kid. Just going to go back through the chat, guys, see if there's any questions that we missed. Now I've actually worked out how to do it. I really like your style of play coaching compared to the US style of playing and coaching. Thank you for that. Yeah, so I think the US style of coaching, I don't think it's that far away now from the UK. It used to be a long, long time ago. But what I find with the US is they tend to put quite a lot of emphasis on fitness and on athleticism. Very important parts of the game, obviously. But I think that stuff shouldn't be shortcutted and kind of overlooked from ball mastery. I think athleticism and fitness is a very, very good thing to have as a player. But I think the way that the US style is going now, more towards the European version of coaching, is more ball mastery, more confidence, more movement of the ball, more dribbling, more skill work. That is a massive part of the fundamentals of coaching for me. And the more that you start to do that, everything else can sort of come in secondary. That pyramid that I talked about earlier for anybody who was listening, that pyramid of building it on ball mastery and then gradually scaffolding everything else on top. But ball mastery has to come as paramount. I think the US style of coaching is getting more to that sort of style. But that is why we have a lot of coaches on the channel who follow us from America because we've just got a different sort of style of teaching over here. How to get kids to be more vocal on the pitch. I tried to touch points. Okay. Right. Communication is key. And communication has started to disappear, not just in general life, but especially in kids, because kids are glued to their phone. They're constantly staring at a screen and they don't converse in the same way. So, team building is massive. Get kids comfortable talking to each other, not about football first, right? Every drinks break, every time you go, right, guys, go get a drink. What do? Kick a ball around, have a drink yourself. Do you know what I do? I take the kids over to the drink square and I say, right, guys, we're all going to have a drink. And while we're having a drink, let's just have a chat, have a debate. Let's talk about who's the best player in the world, who's going to win the Premier League, um, what's better, Fortnite or Minecraft, whatever. Have a chat with them. Get the kids comfortable conversing and talking and communicating with each other on that level first. Take them bowling, take them to go-karting, take them paintballing, take them go do something fun, get them making friends with each other. Doing those kind of things can really help build bonds. Think of the person that you would be most comfortable communicating with, whether you would be giving them a compliment or insulting them in a joking way and messing around. It'd be your best friend. It'd be the person you trust. It'd be the person that you've built a relationship and a bond with. You can have those conversations with people easier when you've built a bond. So build bonds between kids, build communication channels between kids. And then when you're asking them to communicate a little bit more on the pitch, it'll be easier to do. But if you take a load of absolute strangers, right, whether this is adults or kids, put them all in a room together and then ask them to work together as a team, they don't have a connection, whether that's emotionally or whether it's from a community point of view, then they're not going to work together in the same way. So do your absolute best to build those communication levels. And when I get a new player to the session, I do the same thing. I say, right, guys, when we all go for a drink, none of you are allowed to come back and touch a football until we've all learned what Caleb's favorite TV program is, what Caleb's mum and dad are called, whatever. And just get that kid to start talking to other kids. And then once they start to learn little bits about each other, they'll feel more comfortable and confident doing it. North Soccer, first of all, thank you for watching for so long. I've noticed that you've commented a couple of times and you've been on the stream for a while, so I do appreciate you staying on with us for that long. In your experience, are captains made or just natural talent? Um, they are made. Natural talent and captains, and for me, don't go into the same realm. But they are not necessarily made on a football pitch. So kids that have good leadership, that are good communicators, that are strong, that are bold, that are brave, all those things that you would kind of look for in a captain, that usually comes from environment, it comes from upbringing, it comes from the situation that they've had to live through. All that kind of stuff can make an impact. Now that doesn't mean that away from football is the only way that they're made. And you can bring some of these elements through in a captain and try to get kids to do that more. But what I find is that when you're trying to develop those traits, it can be really difficult to do because you're not affecting the kid all the way through their life. You've maybe got them for an hour or two per week. Now, what I tend to find is if you give kids a bit of responsibility and you give them a role to carry out, that can really help with making them feel a little bit more like a captain. Some kids have never been given the chance to do it. They might have joined a grassroots team, right? And there's a set captain every week, and it's the same kid, and then they've never done it. And then they go to a new team, and they join a new team for whatever reason, and they get given a captain armband, and they were man of the match in the last game, or they got player of the week at training, or whatever. And they get given a captain's armband, they put the armband on, and they have no clue what to do or why, because they've never really been given the reasoning of what a captain does, how a captain does it, why a captain does it, the things that you're looking for from a captain. So practice it in training. Do it with kids where it's like, right, in the next drill, guys, the only person that can speak or communicate or talk to their teammates or do anything is this kid, because this kid's our captain. And everyone else, we're going to take your microphones out, we're going to take your headsets off. You can't talk to anybody. And you're the only one with a microphone, with a voice that can talk to everybody else. And pass it around, give it a try. Do you agree that 10-year-olds should come and train 4 times a week if they are? 4 times a week is debatable. I would say you don't know the damage you're doing in a kid that young by having that amount of training. And sometimes because kids feel like they're made of, rubber, they just bounce back. Even a slight niggle or problem or injury, they just carry on playing and they come back pretty quickly. That can make you feel like they're not doing any damage. And you look at injury prone players when they are 20, 30, 40 years old. They could be kids that were just overdoing it and you didn't realize. I think without some proper guidance from a sports scientist, some proper guidance from a trained doctor, I would avoid a kid training 4 or 5 times a week, especially if it's high intense work. That's not to say that a kid can't do 2 intense sessions a week and a couple of lighter sessions and some home mastery and ball work at home. But that doesn't necessarily equate to the same as 4 times a week, tons of practice, loads of intensity, and then going home and doing extra bits as well. Just be very, very careful that you're not doing more damage for later down the line, even if right now it's not a problem. Guys, any other questions in the comments? I'm going to wrap up in the next 4 minutes. The reason I'm wrapping it in 4 minutes, because in 4 minutes I'll have been on for 90 minutes. So I thought, what a perfect time to end a live stream about football at the final whistle on 90 minutes. Let me have a look if there's any questions I have missed. I don't think so. Start being more vocal on the pitch. We covered that one. Did I get an A+ in English? I actually got a B in English, but mainly because I was too busy playing video games rather than concentrating on education. But let's talk education. Coach education is everything, right? Kid education is everything. And the final thoughts that I want to sort of give you tonight, guys, is the reason that we wrote a book like this is to try and help with child education. The more that you can educate your kid or the teams that you're working with, and I would love some coaches out there try and buy like a team bundle so that all their kids are singing from the same hymn sheet, because child education in football is something that's almost lacking quite a lot. So what I tend to find is there'll be access to a replay? Yes, Braz. What I will do is I will save the video. I will re-upload it on YouTube so you guys can watch it back if you've joined us a little bit late, and you can skip through to the best bits where I wasn't waffling about nonsense. But yeah, so a book like this is really important for kid education to make sure that they're getting as much out of their football as possible and making sure that you're not wasting time on the pitch, you're not wasting time at training sessions. And it can even help with parent education as well. Like some mums and dads come to me and they're like, my kid's obsessed with football and I'm a rugby fan, or I grew up doing gymnastics and I'm not really experienced in football. I don't really know what to say to them. I don't know what to do. All the information that's in our new book is to help not just kids, but parents too. So all this stuff, like in the match reports, it'll teach you what to do, what to track, how to help your kid, questions for it. We've even got a parent's guide at the front of it to help you get the maximum out of a book like this, because we wouldn't want you to spend your hard-earned money on a book like this and not get the maximum out of it. I appreciate that might be backwards for you, but that just to show that there's a parent's guide and a player's guide that's like how to get the most out of your journal. So if you're getting something like this, it doesn't just get chucked on a shelf in the bedroom and then never use it again. Every training session, every match, come back to it with them and go, right, what did we do well today? What do we need to improve on? And these guys are literally less than £20, less than an impulse buy. It's a stocking filler for Christmas. It's good for the birthday. And I guarantee that if you are working from this, your kid will see a benefit. I would not say that about many, probably any product, because I wouldn't be able to vouch for it. I can vouch for this because I wrote it myself. What to do when your team's been rude, swearing, cussing, fouling? How do you keep your players positive? We are struggling with bad sportsmanship. Final thought that we'll give tonight, guys, will be on this question. Thank you for asking it. Bad sportsmanship, bad team mentality, all that kind of thing can be an absolute killer to teamwork, to cohesion, then you can't trust each other. If you don't trust each other, you don't keep possession well, they don't pass a lot, they don't set each other up, they then become more greedy on the pitch. The knock-on effects that that can have is enormous. First of all, first rule, absolutely no swearing or insults at training. Sit them out, tell them to miss training the next week if you have to. But a big part of that kind of thing is you've got to get the parent on board, because if you're trying to parent the kids in an hour a week's training session, and then they are doing whatever they want away from those sessions and then coming back, you are wasting your time. It won't work. I've tried it. Believe me, I'm speaking from experience. What you have to do is get the parents on side at the start of the season, halfway through the season. Do it today if you need to. Speak to your parents and say, guys, I want you all to sign this parental and player agreement. We're going to draw up an agreement, which is the expectations, how the games are going to run, how the sessions are going to run, what the expectations are around behavior, about punctuality, about reliability of when you let me know whether you're coming to sessions or not. That's for parents to sign and players to sign. Here's the rules, here's the expectations, here's the consequence. If you sign this and you agree to it, you cannot argue when I impose them on the team or on individuals if they are not behaving in, like the way that we wish they were. And if you write all that, you will probably get more buy-in from your players because the parents are bought into it too. You need the parents on the way home or on the way to your sessions to be saying, no more swearing this week, no more insults. Don't be bickering at your team. I'm not getting a text from your coach again complaining about how you were last week. So you need to come out from both sides, your side and the parent side. Get the parents to buy into it. Get a written contract where it's like it feels a bit more serious rather than you just having a whinge or a moan that kids aren't listening or not showing those favourable traits. That makes sense. Hope that helps. Final question, guys. My daughter is now 12, so I should get the pro version of the book or wait for the girls' pro version. Peter, good question. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Basically, the difference between the boys and the girls' versions of the book are that what we didn't want was girls reading that book and seeing that there's loads of pictures of boys in it and then not like relating to it, not feeling like it was for them. So we wrote the girls' version, which all the interior pages are very, very similar, but the difference is all the animated characters, all the avatars, everything inside the book is then girls instead, right? So like the little avatars page where they can pick the character that looks most like them, create their own little FIFA card. That is basically so that girls can relate to it too. Now the pro version was then the third version that we were doing. And unfortunately, this early stage of business development, we ended up where we couldn't afford to get all four versions of the book all printed and delivered at the same time. So we've made the pro version as a bit of a test. If that goes really well and this book sells well, we will make a version of the pro girl version. I don't know how long that will be off. It could be a month, it could be 6. I couldn't tell you. However, if you think that your daughter will not care whether it's a boy or a girl on the front of the book and inside, and just wants to work at that pro level, then get one. If you think that the girl version would be, slightly better for her, then you can do that. Buy the girl version, send me an email, tell me that you've bought the girl version of it and that she loves the book, but the achievements pages and the bits for the pro version that you wanted, to sort of get the best out of the book, then send me an email about it and I will send you the PDFs so you can print them yourself at home if she needs the pro challenges. If the pro version of the girls isn't available, and you've bought the girl version of the sort of standard edition. Guys, we are going to wrap the live stream up there. A big, big thank you to everyone who watched, to everyone who commented. And I would love to do these again in the future. If you want to see another one, either like the video or drop me a thank you down at the bottom. I would love to. You're very welcome, guys. Youngest person who gave birth. Anyway, so guys, yeah, just let me know if you do want to jump on another live stream in the future. I'll try and arrange them for this sort of time at night. It works in terms of my schedule. I know it kind of works in terms of time difference because UK and America might be able to watch at the same time. Big thank you for watching, guys. I'll make sure this gets uploaded on the YouTube channel as well, so you can always watch it back if you need to. Thanks for subscribing. And yeah, don't forget, if you want to pick it up, myseasonjournal.com. I'll see you all soon, guys. Take care.